All right, today we're tackling a book that has absolutely changed the game for how millions of people think about human history. We're diving into Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens. This is the epic story of how we went from being just another ape on the savannah to, well, the rulers of planet Earth.
So let's start with this idea, because it really sets the stage. Right off the bat, Harari doesn't focus on our big brands or our amazing tools. Nope, he starts here. For most of our time on this planet, we were completely insignificant. We had about as much impact on the environment as a jellyfish. That's our starting point.
You know, for millions of years, our ancestors were, well, they were stuck in the middle. We were not at the top of the food chain, not by a long shot. We were mostly gathering plants, scavenging leftovers from other more powerful predators, and honestly, just trying not to get eaten ourselves. Kings of the savannah? Not even close.
And here's something that just might blow your mind. That classic image you've seen of a single line of apes evolving into a modern human, you can just throw that out the window. It's totally wrong. The truth is, for most of history, Earth was home to several different human species, all at the same time. We had cousins out there, like Neanderthals. The fact that we, Homo sapiens, are the only ones left, that's the weird part.
So that jump we made, from the middle of the food chain to the very top, was incredibly fast. I mean, breathtakingly fast. Think about it. Animals like sharks and lions, they spent millions of years evolving to be apex predators. We did it in a flash, and the ecosystem had no time to adjust. But here's the kicker. Neither did we. Harari argues this has made us anxious, fearful, and dangerous. As he puts it, we're like a banana republic dictator, insecure and therefore incredibly cruel.
So what was our secret weapon? How did this insignificant animal suddenly take over? Well, it all kicked off about 70,000 years ago with what Harari calls the cognitive revolution. And it wasn't about a bigger muscle or a sharper tooth. It was a change in our minds, a brand new way of thinking, and, crucially, a new way of using language.
Okay, this slide right here, this is the secret sauce. Any animal with a decent communication system can say something like, "Watch out, there's a lion." That's just reporting reality. But what makes us sapiens unique is that we can also say the lion is the guardian spirit of our tribe. We gain the power to talk about things that don't physically exist. We can talk about myths, gods, legends, fictions. And this ability to create and believe in shared stories, what Harari calls imagined realities, that is our species' superpower. It's the glue that allows not just 100, but thousands, even millions, of complete strangers to cooperate with each other. And that is how you go from being an insignificant ape to ruling the entire world. And please don't think for a second that this is just some ancient tribal stuff. Our entire modern world is built on the exact same foundation. A corporation? It's a legal story. Money? It's just a story about value we all agree on. Nations, laws, even human rights. None of these are physical objects. They're incredibly powerful fictions that we all collectively choose to believe in.
Okay, let's jump ahead to our next huge milestone, which started around 12,000 years ago. We've all been taught that the agricultural revolution was this amazing step forward for humanity. But Harari, he drops a bombshell. He calls it history's biggest fraud.
Harari just flips the whole narrative on its head. He says, look at it from the perspective of wheat. For wheat, this was an incredible success story. It went from being a wild grass in one small region to covering the entire globe. But for the average person, it was a trap. In a very real sense, we didn't domesticate wheat. Wheat domesticated us.
And when you look at the evidence, the comparison is, well, it's pretty brutal. Forager life, as you can see, meant a varied diet, fewer working hours, and actually less risk of starvation. Early farmers, on the other hand, worked way harder, had terrible diets based on one or two crops, and were much more likely to die from disease or famine. The species as a whole got bigger, but the life of the individual got a whole lot worse.
But there was a major side effect of all this. Those same imagined orders that allowed us to create farms also allowed us to build cities, kingdoms, and empires. And over thousands of years, these massive human networks started to connect, pushing all of human history toward one single direction: global unification.
So 3 huge imagined orders turned out to be especially good at getting everyone on the same page. First, there was money, the ultimate system of trust between total strangers. Then you had empires, this idea that one government could rule over all different kinds of people. And finally, universal religions, the belief that there's one single truth for everybody.
And what these 3 things did, together, was completely revolutionary.
They basically smashed apart the thousands of tiny, isolated human worlds that had existed forever. They created a new reality where, for the first time, the entire planet was a single stage, setting us up for the global world we live in today.
So now we land in the last 500 years, and things get really wild. A new revolution begins, not in one of the world's great centers of power, but on the fringes, in Western Europe. We call it the scientific revolution, and it's about to give us powers that people used to think only belonged to the gods.
The result has been, well, an explosion. Just look at these numbers. In the year 1500, there were about 500 million of us on the whole planet. Today, over 7 billion. In that same time, our production is multiplied 240 times. The sheer scale of this growth is unlike anything that has ever happened in the 4-billion-year history of life on Earth.
So, what was the magic ingredient here? What fueled this incredible takeoff? It wasn't finding a new ultimate truth. It was actually the exact opposite. It was a new attitude, summed up by one Latin word, ignorantes. It means we do not know. Modern science is built on the revolutionary idea of admitting our ignorance. That's what pushes us to discover, to invent, to keep exploring.
And this relentless search for new knowledge has brought us to a pretty mind-boggling place. For 4 billion years, life on Earth has evolved according to natural selection. But now we're starting to rewrite the rules. With bioengineering, with cyborg technology, we're not just playing the game anymore. We're becoming the designers of the game itself.
And this leads us to Harari's final, chilling warning. We now have godlike powers of creation and destruction, but we're still the same anxious, greedy, and often clueless sapiens we were back on the savannah. We have more power than ever before in history, but we seem to be just as unhappy as ever, and we have absolutely no idea what to do with it all.
And so, the book leaves us right here with this incredibly profound question. As we get the power to engineer not just our bodies, but our brains, our emotions, our desires, the real challenge isn't what do we want to become? It's a much deeper question. What do we want to want? That is the puzzle for the future of humanity.